as I mentioned, Pauline says they like Oladejo. He also says, I'm told the Niners will look for O-line, a corner, and a wide receiver in free agency. So let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
O-line wise, I looked at the list and I pared it down.
Okay. I got a couple guys too. Let's see if we line up.
Yeah, this is who I have as fits for the 49ers on the offensive line. And as guys I'd be interested in on the offensive line.
Right.
James Daniels from the Steelers, Jedrick Wills from the Browns, Will Hernandez from Arizona, Tevin Jenkins from the Bears, Drew Dalman from the Falcons, Dan Moore from the Steelers, and Deontay Smith from the Bengals.
Okay.
Who do you?
Other guys.
I'm not looking at older guys. I'm trying to look at. I kind of think they're gonna, if they go, they like to seem like if they sign free agents, they either like to go with, if they're going with like kind of no name young, they like to go with like younger guys that they can kind of groom.
They're cheaper too, right? So you're kind of betting on upside. Will Fries, the guard from Indianapolis, I think is a really, really good player. He broke his leg in week 5 last year, but he had been really good for like the prior 20 games. I think that's a set and forget it guard. You don't have to worry about left guard anymore with Fries. He fits the scheme. Mekhi Becton out of Philly, worked for the Eagles. They got him for a year. He went in and mauled.
I would love Mekhi Becton.
I
just don't see him as a fit. And
I get that.
He's so huge, and they seem like they like smaller, more athletic guys. And are you going to move? Are you moving Pooney off of right guard?
No. You play him at left because it's not as it's.
You play Becton at left.
Yeah, you play Becton at left. Now I will say that it's a good point that he's physically humongous. You have a small quarterback. That's probably not the best move to have Mekhi Becton standing in front of him all the time. Something they have to keep an eye on. And then I agree with you. On a bunch of these guys, but Wills, I think, is a really interesting one. He could be their Mekhi Becton. Like Mekhi Becton is a failed tackle. The Eagles are like, you want to play guard? They bring him in. He plays guard. He dominates at guard. Jedrick Wills, never really looked like a tackle to me. Easy to say now, of course. Gets benched. I don't know how much of a market there's going to be for him because I'm sure there's a lot of guys who are going to be like, well, do we need him as a swing tackle, this and that. If I'm the Niners, I call up Wills and I just go like, you want to play guard? And I bet he'd be great at guard. That's his game. And, I could be
probably
wrong.
Would want more. He probably wants that tackle money though. You'd have to pay.
Well, and I want to get paid for this, but here we are,
Yeah, exactly.
A
lot of people say Drew Dalman, but I think Dalman's price might be exorbitant.
Dalman's price might be exorbitant, and I don't feel like the Niners, my man Hutch has been bringing up Dalman incessantly for months, and it's like, shut up with the Dalman already. I get it. Anyone who's in on Dalman, they're right. Like he's
it's not about right. He's 26. It's just a matter of
he's 26.
Can they afford him?
He's a NorCal kid. His dad was a Niner. Like he's exactly the right scheme fit. Like it'd be perfect. The more I bring him up, right, and it's been months now of his name coming up again and again and again. The more I bring him up with people whose opinion around the league and inside the building that I trust, I just don't get the sense that they're actually interested. There just seems to be no smoke at all outside of, third party opinion. And they like to keep things under wraps, but they're just not that clandestine. Like if they really thought that Drew Dalman was the dude, like it would have leaked out at some point. I don't think they're looking at center. I think they're going to ride again with 64.
Here's my thing. I think that they know that center's not ideal, but I don't think they want to tie themselves to a free agent who's only a center. I think there's a very good chance. I'm looking at this list, and if it was just about like who do you want? Yeah, I want Drew Dalman,
of course.
And then if it's about like just long term or whatever, I kind of like Tevin Jenkins as a road grading guard who I think is going to be, he's young. He's 26. He's going to be good for the next 10 years.
Right.
But the guy to me that I think fits the best is James Daniels because James Daniels now he's had the injury. And he wears the whatchamacallit cap or whatever. So I don't know if he's
Guardian cap.
The Guardian cap. I don't know if
listen, the Evan Anderson special.
Right. I don't know, but I mean, have you guys had concussions, or are they just worried about concussions? Either
Can
way,
go either way.
I really don't care. But I like Daniels, and he was a good player, well coached at Iowa. And he is a guy who, if you got to camp and Brendel looked awful, you could just be like, "Hey, James, you're our center." Or you could also plug him in at left guard, and he would give you a lot of flexibility going into the draft. So I like, if you could, commit yourself to getting a tackle in the draft somehow, and you signed a James Daniels, and then you went with like a day 3 interior player that you liked. I like Marcus Ware. There's a couple of guys I like, but I like Marcus Ware quite a bit from Montana State.
Yes.
I like Jackson
Weird,
Slater
yeah.
from Sac State. I like the guy from Carolina, who I think maybe a fullback. But James Daniels would be nice, because then, see, you have Nugent and you have Zakel and you have, some different guys. You have Ben Barch, and who are you going to play one at guard, at center? A lot of these guys can play both. So I think in that vein, you go for a guy like Daniels. Then if one of your young centers like Nugent, one of these guys really makes a step and is like, hey, this guy's really good. Zakel or Nugent or one of these guys plays center well, then you could play Daniels at left guard. Or if you can't, you don't get that interior player in the draft, and then you could play Daniels at left guard for Banks, and he's probably cheaper. So
yeah.
That's how I see the offensive line.
Yeah, listen, it's a good year to also have a little bit of money to flash around on the line. Now, last year, guards went up to $20 million. I don't see anybody like that, and I think it should be noted. They bring back, Louise Dieter. They just re-signed the guy,
Barch.
Barch deserves, with the game and a half that he played, which was awesome. He was awesome for a game and a half. Smallest sample size. Some of it was on snow. I know I sound ridiculous, but he was a revelation in the tone of that team. Like, in a weird way, that season ended not because of the record, but because Ben Barch got injured. People were so down on his injury coming out of that game. Like, yes, our season's over. We all know it's done. But also Ben Barch got injured, and he was like a ray of sunshine to that team for some reason. Like, they finally figured out left guard just in time for everything to go to shit around him. Regardless, Barch deserves a shot at camp. And so, while I'd like to see, we'd all
he can play center too. He can play center or left guard.
I think that you need to bring in a young guy, another veteran, and let Barch go in and just have a 3-man competition. The same way that they kind of did with Pooney. Pooney, hey, he got a shot, and then no one else wanted to step up for the job, and so he took it. As opposed to maybe a Spencer Burford situation where it really wasn't a competition, because they're like, nah, it's Burford. And if someone wants to take it from Burford, but then no one stepped up to take it from Burford, I want to see some competition at camp at left guard. And I think Barch is step 1, and there's 2 more steps to go.